So, who are the key members who started the non-aligned movement? We have the three different nations coming together who are newly independent nations and started the non-aligned movement. We have to feel proud that even the Indian Prime Minister was one of the key founding member of the non-aligned movement. This was started by the countries of India, Egypt and Yugoslavia. We have the leaders from India, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, then Gamal Abdul Nazir and Joseph Broz Tito. These three initial leaders joined at Indonesia capital Bandung in the year 1955 and started the movement of NAM. So, these were the key members who started the non-aligned movement. The first group is India, Egypt and Yugoslavia. The three leaders or the statesmen of three groups like Jawaharlal Nehru, Gamal Abdul Nasser and Joseph Broz Tito came together at Bandung in Indonesia in 1955. They started the non-aligned movement. This was a clear-cut measure to show the way to the newly independent nations who are emerged or in Confucius state whether we have to join the communist bloc or the American bloc. They have provided an alternative for them to join the non-aligned movement. And what are the guiding principles of non-aligned movement? The basic guiding principles of non-aligned movement is, the first one is cooperation. Second one is no Cold War concept. Third one is no military race. See here, the first one is the cooperation. The newly independent nations of Asia and Africa need the support and cooperation from both the groups, either from the USA bloc or the USSR bloc, and get development from their ground level, because they were the colonial countries who have suffered for many hundreds of years. So automatically, if you are a member of NAM, the countries which are already independent and members of NAM will support the newly joining member and will try to get them help whichever is necessary at whenever point of time. In this way, the main key concept is cooperation between all the members of the NAM, as well as getting support from the power blocks if necessary at that point of time, and saying no to Cold War, because USA and USSR are seriously indulging themselves in the concept of Cold War and taking the sides either in the proxy war or taking one side and doing the wars in this way. So these people in the NAM clearly mentioned that we won't be the part of any Cold War issues either in the part of Vietnam, Greece, Turkey or any other parts. And moving on to the last one, we shall not join any of the military groups, so that we don't run for the military weapons or the military arsenal, because we don't have that much kinds of funds to buy the military equipment and store it wherever. It is better to invest that amount in the welfare activities so that the nation can develop and cherish. These are the main guiding principles of NAM, and these are the key members who founded the non-aligned movement. So these were the guiding principles of NAM what we have discussed just now. Now moving on to the conferences. The first conference of NAM was held at Belgrade in September 1961, and initially we had the members of nearly 25 countries attending the meet. So NAM started to grow its importance and it started to attract the newly independent nations. And moving on to this, the next greater step is that, and we have the observers for this now. At present the strength of NAM is nearly 120 member countries and 17 observers. See here, we have to appreciate the state of condition of NAM right now, because the highest number of the group leadership is under NAM. The USA has having only the members of 30 members of its group, or USSR is having less than 25 members. But moving on to the NAM group, we have nearly 120 member nations, either they are developed countries, developing countries, or underdeveloped nations. Leaving on to the developmental status now, the total number of membership is 120 members, and we have 17 observers for them. The 17 observers are given, the superpowers are given observer status, and the countries which are developed countries, which are economically, militarily strong, were given the economic status plus the observer status for them, in order to check if any kind of disturbances are found in the NAM group. Now what happened for the NAM for its success? Is it the NAM successful or a failure? But actually, when NAM was started initially, we have the blocks of USA, USSR hating the group of NAM, because NAM is considered as an anti-group of either for USSR or for USA. The initial period up to 1960s, none of the groups of the superpowers have either supported them or respected them at any point of time. As the time passed on, and whenever there is any trouble for peace, the NAM offered her office to solve the issues and to negotiate the problems very clearly. So after slowly understanding what is the concept of NAM, both the superpowers came down, but they played all the games whatever necessary for them to destroy the NAM, but they were not met to their success. Yes, they had their influence on that, because USSR started to put its net in the disturbing the members of the NAM. In the same way, USA also kept its net in disturbing the members of the NAM, and initially they were successful to take away some of the members of NAM towards their side and got them side, prove that they are in majority than the USA, or USA taking a member and proving that they are able to control the other nations also. But in actual reality, NAM also could not reach to its success, because there are some negative points even for NAM also. The negative points are, the first one is no economic stability. The second point is no control. See, economically, any of the nations of the NAM were not so strong that they can lend support for the developing nation whichever is required for them. For example, if any nation needs some 10,000 crores of fund or loan amount, it cannot be granted by any of the nations of the NAM. So this was one of the factors which make the NAM to not lead its successful extent as far as it's expected. And moving on to the next one, we have no control on the members. Even though NAM is established, all the members are the signatory members, and we have huge number in the NAM group, but we can't control the NAM members by not asking them not to move out from the NAM rules and regulations, or getting influence from USA or USSR either for the economic aid, military aid, or for political support, whatever may be the condition or the solution of the problem, whatever they are facing. But NAM is not able to provide any alternative for them for financial assistance or for political resolution. Only thing NAM can do is, it is an alternative not to join into the Cold War concept or in the military race, but only fact is that it is just a group without no funds, no strong leadership. This could be one of the reasons why the NAM has failed rather than leading to its extent. But it is a good initiative taken by the leaders of Jawaharlal Nehru, Joseph Broz Tito, and Gamal Abdel Nasser to provide an alternative for the newly developed nations at that point of time. But right now, NAM is a good group where we don't have the two superpower blocks right now. So even in UN also, we have the hold of NAM larger than any other groups or even for the bit of power nations.